Hey everybody, welcome back to Joe HQ, where the magic happens. And before we get started, I just want to say one thing. I love you so much. Anyway, this is from a famous mural in Austin, Texas. I usually like recording these things outside, but it is 105 degrees today and it's just too hot. But hey, I have seen a lot of times it comes up in the group where people are asking how to get more customers, sales. So I'm going to give you the PhD version of marketing, and that is post-hole digger for all of us in the sign industry. Basically, when it comes to marketing, and this might sound really simplistic, but sometimes it's as scientific as taking a bunch of ideas, throwing them up against the wall, and seeing what sticks, and then doubling down on that. So let's talk through that for a few minutes. There's basically a couple different types of things you need to do. First and foremost, it's the low touch marketing strategies, right? So those are going to be like your Google AdWords, your, Facebook, boosts or whatever, meta tags and Instagram ads. Those are ones that are going to try to drive as much traffic to your website as possible. But your website is critical, right? So I've been to a lot of sign shop websites, and I'm not criticizing anybody. I get it. A lot of times you want to use your website as a way to educate your clients. I've seen websites that have like, oh, here is 5-paragraph description on how channel letters work according to UL. Your customers don't really care about that so much. What do your customers want to see on your website? Pretty pictures, right? They want to see the really cool signs that you did. They want to see day shots, night shots, angle shots. Get a nice camera, take really good pictures, and make your website way more of a portfolio. Yes, sure. You want to talk about your services? Definitely. But the pictures are most important. And also tell a story. So, hey, we did this sign for this general contractor, X. And if you can get a testimonial, that's even better. Here's the problems that they were facing on this project, and here's the solutions that we came up with. And it doesn't have to be long, it could be a couple sentences. People love to look at pictures, and people love to read stories. So think about your community, think about how to reach them in a low touch way. Take out some, do some AdWord campaigns, maybe not a lot, start with a little budget and see if it drives traffic to the website. I would invest way more money in your website looking like $1 million than I would in the campaigns. The campaigns can kind of come in drips and you can experiment with different avenues. And it could be that maybe you're taking out little ads in some local say general contractor newsletters, electronic newsletters or whatever. So be looking for opportunities like that. But that is low touch marketing. Now we're going to move on to high touch marketing. So let's talk through that. So high touch marketing is where you're going to where they live. So for example, I guess there's 3 things you need to think about. One, who do you want to target? Who do you want as a customer? So let's just say property managers. They were always one of my favorites. So, okay, I want to start targeting property managers because property managers control the signage that's in a center. They control the signage that's on a pylon sign. Oftentimes they control making monument signs, pylon signs, site signs, graphics that go in the windows for empty spaces. I mean, there's tons of opportunities in retail centers that are often controlled by the property manager. So that's the target. 2 is, what are the problems that they have, or what are they really wanting from a sign company? Do they want one sign company to do it all? Do they want one sign company that just makes electric signs, that takes really good care of their tenants? So you got to kind of figure out what the individual property management companies want and what problems they're trying to solve. And then lastly, where do they live? Do they have local associations? In our case, we used to, especially the larger property management companies that we knew in Austin, Texas, which has been blowing up for over a decade now, we would figure out the property management companies that were building the largest projects, and we would contact them. And oftentimes it was something as simple as showing up in the morning, and a lot of people would come into the kitchen area, property managers, and we would be set up in there, and we would announce it ahead of time. We'd coordinate this with the office manager, and we'd sit there with a bunch of breakfast tacos and juices and muffins and a nice plant that had our business card sticking out the top of it. And we would just shake hands and tell people a little bit about us. They'd take our card, they'd take our information, and next thing you know, we were getting phone calls from individual property managers referring us to somebody. So then you kind of dig a little deeper too. What are some of the problems they're having? Well, you're at their site, and all of a sudden you see, 10 sets of channel letters up in the building. On raceways, none of the raceways match. So apparently their sign criteria doesn't clearly state what the color of the raceway should be, or maybe the type of letters. Some are reverse, some are frontlit. So basically, a lot of times we would go in, we would review the sign criteria for that property manager. We would write it for them, and including schematics, exact colors to match the facade. And then we would provide that for them. And what they end up doing with that is they give that as a lease attachment to everybody that's signing a lease with them. And from there, we would also have on the bottom of that, hey, sign criteria provided by Joe at SignTech International. We got so much business for that. We were doing site signs, we were doing installations, fabrications, removals, vinyl graphics, all of it. We were their go-to for any tenant that moved in, which also led to leads to national accounts as well. So I would recommend pick one or two things that you can do. Number one, your website. Number two, how to drive a little bit of traffic to your website. That's the low touch side. And then think about one or two different types of clients, whether it's architects, general contractors, school, government agencies, and figure out what problems they're having, where they live, and go get them. Anyway, I hope this is helpful. Sell a lot of signs. You're doing great.